Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're well. Welcome to Black Mental Health Matters. I'm Martina. I'm a cognitive behavioural psychotherapist based in the UK, in the Northwest, in Manchester, and I'm the host for today's show. I'm so pleased to share with you and introduce today's guest, who is Nicole Henry, an integrative child counsellor, also from the UK. So we're so pleased that you can join us on today's show. What I'd like to do is just to kind of hand you over briefly to Nicole as she introduces herself. Also, just to make you aware, this is being streamed live on the United States of Africa platform on YouTube, also on Facebook and the Black Mental Health Matters platform on YouTube. If you've got any questions, feel free to comment or any comments. We want this to be engaging and interactive. And today's show, it's about you as well. We're here, as experts, but it's about you. We want to hear from you. So feel free to be engaged. So I'll just hand over to Nicole, who will kind of introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Martina, for introducing me, and thank you for having me, most importantly. My name is Nicole Henry. I'm an integrative child counsellor. I work with children between the ages of 5 to 18 plus. I'm also the founder of a company called Therapy. Therapy is a platform for children that we offer counselling support within schools, but also privately. We're just growing, and we're a new business, but it's growing really well. We have 5 partner schools at the moment.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. So today's show for Black Mental Health Matters is Express and Don't Suppress. So the reason why the show has been titled that is because last week was it was looking at Children's Mental Health Awareness Week. So we thought it would be quite apt to entitle the show Express and Don't Suppress. So it's all about emotions, exploring the importance of expressing our emotions, in particular in the Black community, because we know that historically this isn't something that has been something that's been necessarily promoted. And I know for myself, coming from a Black Caribbean upbringing, emotions, talking about them wasn't necessarily something that was promoted. What's promoted is that you need to listen to your elders, you need to respect them. Sometimes emotions and feelings are not important. It's just about, I guess, taking action and ensuring that in life that you succeed. And if you have any strong emotions, that sometimes you just need to kind of put them to a side, they're not kind of viewed as a priority. So what we want to do is explore that today and explore, what expressing emotions is all about, what emotions actually are. So what are your thoughts on that, Nicole?
Well, I was just going to give an example, actually. Similar to you, I've grown up in a Caribbean background, and my parents are both Caribbean, and my parents, especially my mum, actually, I'm very aware, she made a conscious effort to make sure we connected with our emotions as her children, because she went through the whole thing of, it doesn't matter about what you feel, or, they didn't really show love in the way that you would kind of expect to. And now I find these days, everybody will just say they love you. It's very casual and it's very fluid. But back then, I think she was explaining that it wasn't fluid. It was rare if you heard somebody say they love you. It's like, oh, this is a bit of a taboo. So, so in my life, it's been very paramount to speak about when you're upset, speak about when you're feeling down. And it's, if you don't do it, you're kind of going through it alone, but that will be your choice. But the space was always available to have that discussion.
Mm-hmm. And that's fantastic that you've got, I guess, a positive experience of, being raised in an environment where expressing your emotions is encouraged and is nurtured, because that will help with our, I guess, with your psychological development, your social development as well. And I'm just wondering, from your perspective, can you think of maybe some of the benefits that you've experienced through being nurtured to express your emotions and your feelings? And ultimately, I guess it's about connecting with yourself and allowing yourself to develop emotional intelligence as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really strengthened my emotions, to be honest, and connect with them quite strongly. I could identify when I'm feeling a certain way, and then I know the process. Okay, maybe take some time and really think about it. But I take the process slowly. I'd never try to rush processes. I kind of go through it as it is, which is really good. But also from that, it's led me to where I am, I believe, in terms of now helping other children to express themselves. However, I will say that when I was younger, I went through a burglary in my home, and that had a huge, huge negative effect in my life. And I didn't really talk about it because I think I was a bit more scared than anything. My family could see that I was feeling this way, but I couldn't pinpoint exactly why I was feeling this way and why I was acting in certain ways. But it just really does encourage me to come back to where I am now, to encourage other children to speak about it, speak about, things they're struggling with, speak about things that they may find challenging or fearful at the moment. That will be something that will help them later on in life.
No, that's fantastic. And are there any other benefits for, if we think about parents, Black parents, why is it important for them to encourage their children to express themselves, and how do you think they can maybe encourage or facilitate their children in expressing themselves in a creative way?
Yeah, I think
a culturally relevant and culturally appropriate way.
Yeah, I think it's definitely important, especially in the Black Caribbean or Black community, to be honest, because we tend not to speak a lot. We can be quite vocal, but certain things that we're vocal about may not be really what we want to say. It might be quite harsh sometimes, and it's not necessarily the truth, or it is the truth, but it may come across as a joke. So you can misread the messages. So that could be quite difficult. So it's not really straight to the point, if you know what I mean, and having like a serious conversation. However, in my family as well, the benefits are that we're quite close. And we're able to speak about things that sometimes when there is breakdowns, we have to get together to sort things out. So that's a huge benefit from talking about your feelings, because then a lot more comes up. Sometimes, one issue can turn into a bit of an emotional spill because this person is just filled up with so much that a lot of other things come out, which is a great benefit because you're sharing how you actually truly feel. And as well, your family get to know and able to support you. In creative ways, I think a lot of Black families love music. I think getting to dance and partying, I think that brings people together. That makes you warm up together. That makes you trust one another because you're in a good spirit, a good vibe. So I would definitely encourage people to use music as a tool. What else? Even cooking. We love to cook. Cooking together. Yeah, we do. Cooking, eating. And I remember a lot more back in the day when I was younger. The family always came together, generally like on a Sunday or something, but everybody would come together. And, I feel we're lacking that these days a lot more. And I think hopefully COVID will bring that back, that people need to meet a lot more often, because we crave for our family. We may not have known before, but we know it now.
Yeah.
So 100%. Yeah, I think those are the two things within the Black community that I would say would definitely work. There's many other creative ways that you can get to know your child in terms of whether it be arts and crafts, dancing, photography, messy, anything like that, any kind of creative thing. One thing I would say is I encourage adults to step down to the children's level. If the children love PlayStation, step down to that level and meet them where they are, and that's why they'll be able to trust you and move forward with you and build that relationship. I 100% encourage that.
And I think that's a fantastic suggestion, which is probably, I'm making a bit of a generalization now, is probably going against the norm, cultural norms, because usually it's the adult that leads the way, and the adult always knows what should and shouldn't be kind of done in certain situations. So how do you think a parent or carer could what steps or processes could they take to kind of ensure that they're aligned with the children or the young person's level? Because I guess I can foresee some potential barriers in terms of mindset, cultural, lots of cultural factors and barriers.
I think there's definitely a lot of cultural factors. A lot of the Black community, the whole mental health thing is a bit of a taboo. They don't understand why you want to speak about your feelings regardless. And also they just think you're going to chat their business. So that is this thing. They really believe is all about them. And, my house is like this. They don't want you to talk about your household outside the house.
Yes.
So that is a big thing. But I think it's just lack of understanding, to be honest. Parents just need to understand that counseling and seeking therapy is not about the child speaking about you directly. Yes, it may have something to do with you in terms of your upbringing and how you bring up the child, but it's mainly about dealing with the child's feelings, dealing with their emotions, and working with them to get to a place where they're comfortable in their life to walk and live comfortably. So I think we just take away the taboo, and not feel about we're speaking about their business, because I think that is a huge thing. And just lack of understanding, really educating yourself. We're in a different age. We're in a different community. Things are changing now. Mental health is so strife, and it's such a prominent topic right now. I think not wise not to listen and take it on, because children that they're growing up around and they're with, whether it be in different cultures, whether it be from the Caucasian background, Asian background, whether it be whatever background it is, they're all going through their emotions. And if their parents are talking to them about it and it's brought to a Black child, they're going to be a bit lost. They're going to be a bit confused, but they talk to about it. So, I think 100% we need to kind of break barriers of not feeling that it's necessary to talk, because we do need to talk.
Yeah. And I completely agree with you. Concur with everything you've said. But I can see where parents would be coming from in terms of that kind of trust, the lack of trust with statutory services. And, the research suggests that in terms of outcomes for Black individuals, this is mainly around adults, it's poorer in terms of, the mental health outcomes. And I believe that that's probably because of that mistrust. Also, the lack of representation within that kind of, within that sector, psychologists, psychotherapists, counsellors, there's a lack of Black individuals. So I think if the Black community was aware that they can actually seek therapy or support from someone of their, someone from the same community, I believe that would 100%. Probably encourage them more. But I think because we don't talk about it a lot, because there's a taboo, because potentially you might be seen as being weak if you're struggling with your mental health, that the individuals are not even doing research to see what support is available, and actually realizing that if you want to access a therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, counselor, if you want to access someone from the same cultural background, that is an option. It might take longer, but it is an option. And I think there needs to be more of a discourse around this in our community. And I guess that's why this platform exists, and that's why we're here today to challenge the taboo and the stigma which unfortunately exists.
Yeah, I think definitely it's something that has to be targeted. You raised a point. Oh no, it's gone. Sorry, the point is just gone over my head. It will come back to me. It will come back.
That's fine. But I just wonder, what is your experience in terms of working with young people? Well, from the Black community, would you say that they tend to specify or come to you because of your kind of ethnic origin? Is that something that you experience, or does it vary?
I've actually experienced that it's varied, to be honest. I've had some relate to me a lot more because I am Black. I've had some withdraw and say they don't want their child to see me. But I think that was more of the whole general counselling, general mental health, you know, and they thought they were just looking into deep. And I think as well, that was my other point. I think sometimes families feel that we're going to bring other services into their lives, such as like social services and, you know, other, you know, plans. And I think they're a bit scared of that. So I think they need to kind of pull away from that and understand counselling is just about working with the child to help them find the best solution and the best way of living. So, yeah, but I think some of it is about services. They don't want people involved and knocking at the door and saying, like, you know, we need to check your house and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do get a mix. It's very varied, very varied. So some children are young as well. Some are teenagers and older. It just varies.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you highlight that point, because although we're looking at the Black community as a whole globally, you know, African, those of African and Caribbean origin and heritage, all of our experiences do differ. Those from the diaspora, those, you know, who were originally born in Africa, everyone's experience will differ. Some people may have experienced more trauma in their life, therefore that can actually, if they've not, you know, not necessarily received the right support at that time, that can potentially prevent someone from expressing their emotions because they don't understand, you know, how the trauma has impacted upon them. So I'm not surprised in terms of what you've shared, but I think it's important just to highlight that, really. But just going back to, you know,
sorry. No, I was going to say, following on from your point in terms of trauma, and I think some parents as well are dealing with trauma themselves, and they don't realize the transference of energy and transference of emotions that they do transfer to their children. So I think that's another part as well. They're even scared themselves to deal with their own issues, so they don't want their child to, you know, do the same, even though they protect their child. I'm not saying that they don't, but they do. But they don't want their child to be exposed to certain things. So I think there's a lot of that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, there's that generational trauma, isn't there? And then, unfortunately, depending on where, you know, you live in the world, the experience of racism as well, and the adverse effect that can, the adverse effect that does have on your mental health, and being unsure, you know, as to whether you can explore and express that as well. I think that there's just so many factors that contribute towards the Black community expressing or suppressing their emotions. And I can see, if I'm being honest, I can see that there's pros and cons, drawbacks and advantages to doing that, because I think in some settings it may serve a positive purpose, you know, the suppressing of the emotions. So I'm just thinking about, for example, you know, in the workplace, and if you're in, you know, maybe in an environment where you're in the minority, and you know, there's the stereotypes or the persona of, you know, that the Black strong woman, or that Black men are aggressive, or, you know, there's lots of misconceptions. But sometimes I think I'm very conscious that, you know, I don't want to feed into that. I don't want to be misunderstood. So I think in that environment, it can be beneficial to temporarily suppress your emotions with a view to addressing it in the long term. Just wonder what your thoughts are around that, Nicole, and what are the listener thoughts as well?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that 100%. And I think you have to be quite strategic. It sounds a bit crazy at in terms of you have to work it out. But you have to be strategic with it.
Yeah.
And I'll say, going on your example of being in a workplace, definitely, suppress it, because as well, I think we need to train ourselves not to be the same and to fit in, but to manage the way we speak and to manage the way we communicate, so that when we do communicate, it doesn't come across as aggressive, and it's not labeled as, oh, the black one is doing this, all of this kind of energy. So I think suppressing it in order to gain the reward later in terms of delivering the message however you need to deliver it sophisticatedly and effectively, then by all means.
Yeah. And that kind of brings us back to kind of linking it in with that emotional intelligence, is that being emotionally self-aware, understanding yourself, which will allow you to express yourself, which naturally will enable you to kind of self-regulate your emotions, which is key and critical, because as you said, if you can't self-regulate, then there's lots of negative effects of that, and that kind of just fuels into some of those stereotypes that exist. I'm just looking at some of the comments, which I'll just kind of refer to them. I don't know whether they're still watching, but when we were talking about the children, some of the ways that you can encourage them to express their emotions, someone shared, Wiseman, that creating good quality time for your children is the best way to get to know them. And someone else is also agreeing that stepping down and meeting them where they are is critical. So just kind of, I thought it's just important to share that. And thank you for your contributions, everyone that's listening. It's great to have you with us this Saturday afternoon. And for those who have just joined us, just as a reminder, we're looking at the importance of expressing and not suppressing your emotions as a black woman, a black man, as a child, and just kind of looking at it across the lifespan and looking at the importance of it. And this ties in with Children's Mental Health Week, which was looking at expressing ourselves and thinking about and focusing on the importance of expressing ourselves in creative ways. And we've been exploring that in terms of the Black community globally. So is there anything else that you want to maybe share, Nicole, in terms of maybe some of the benefits of expressing yourself and some of the barriers, what life experiences, because we touched upon trauma, what life experiences could prevent someone from being able to express their emotions?
And definitely for all cultures, generally, when you're expressing yourself, it prevents suicidal thoughts, it prevents leading to suicides as a whole. So I definitely encourage it. And, as some people have said, spending quality time with their children will prevent it. Great. And sometimes as well, when I counsel some children, they generally find their way, if you know what I mean. I don't know if that's the best way to explain it, but they definitely have some kind of grounding kind of idea of how they need to go forward. So I think that will help in guidance, because sometimes some families don't have the support and guidance, and they're just kind of left to their devices. And especially if the school pick it up, because sometimes that's what happens. School picks it up and they realize this child guidance. So there doesn't, and sometimes parents are not aware that their children are behaving in certain ways. So when they do have the counseling sessions, it does help them really step up and, be a bit more aware. Their behavior will change and they will just grow naturally. They just naturally grow. And children are very resilient. They pick up things through seeing and hearing. So they learn quickly. They can relate and trust you. They will excel. And there's so many that I've seen, coming from maybe situations of knife crime, and they've turned their life around. They've completely turned their life around. They're focused now. They're willing to, to complete their studies. They're willing to support their family a lot more, and just, especially loving on their mothers. A lot of young people, especially, they love their mothers so much, but sometimes they don't know how to communicate it. But through that, they're able to establish that relationship with their mothers and really connect with them on a deeper level.
That's fantastic kind of insights that you've shared. One of the audience, Na, has shared that culturally it's sometimes not okay for a child to express anger. It can be seen or viewed as disrespectful, and I would echo that. I just wonder what your thoughts are around that, Nicole.
Yeah, I understand where they're coming from, 100%. But like I said before, it's about how you deliver it. But as well, I think we kind of need to give children a bit of grace. They're just children. So sometimes they're not going to be able to understand how to express their emotions in the most respectful way sometimes. So they could maybe scream or, like pull their hair or something. But if they don't know how to express their emotions and share it, maybe verbally, because some children don't, they're not, they don't want to sit down and have a conversation. They much rather smash something. It's about training that and to change that habit, to be able to actually speak, respectfully, and I'm sure they're not doing it out of disrespect or dishonor. It's just a lack of understanding, a lack of understanding how to express themselves. But I do understand sometimes culturally expressing themselves is a negative. I understand.
And I think it's important for us to acknowledge, as I guess parents or carers or role models in the Black community, in terms of children, we've got to acknowledge that we are role models, and we've got to model how to effectively self-regulate and manage our emotions. And sometimes the children may be struggling to express their emotions because they're not seeing that within their environment. And then that can kind of hamper their growth or development. So I believe it's important that as adults that we take responsibility. And also some adults may struggle with expressing their emotions or being self-aware, understanding themselves due to various factors. So I just wonder, do you have any suggestions in terms of how adults can, how they can be kind of facilitated, or what tools they can use to help them to express themselves? Because then that's going to ultimately have a positive impact and correlation with how children learn to express themselves. And
I think, like you said, you mentioned something really key about role models. I think it's really important for parents themselves to relax, take it easy. It sounds really silly, but relax a bit, because sometimes when you relax, you just become so, you just flow with things, that you will just let things go. Not to say, let your children be disrespectful or anything like that. When you relax and you take a step back, you can look and you can see a bit more clearly. So I would definitely encourage just to relax, take a minute and understand, but also to share your own feelings. Just speak about your own feelings within the home. You don't have to go into detail about on your true thoughts or certain things, because that's your child. You probably don't want them knowing too much details, which is natural. But sharing in the home of how you feel, or talking about your day a lot, speaking about the day, how it's been, because you send your children to school maybe, so asking them how it was, and then getting them to ask you how your day was, and that creates a conversation. You get to learn about each other, and I think that's really key. So parents just need to get to know themselves in the process, and that will really highlight it as well. See themselves in a different light.
No, they're great strategies that parents can use. And I would just add also, because I work with children and adults, but when I work with adults, we look at, journaling. So just daily, just kind of connecting with yourself and understanding what's going through your mind, understanding how you're feeling. And then I guess you're more able to articulate that with, I guess with your children, because if you don't know yourself, how can you understand others? How can you be empathic? So, you know, there's lots of different apps that adults can use and children to journal. You know, even if someone is maybe struggling with identifying their emotions, there's different emojis that you can just select. And just setting time aside to be with yourself is just so powerful. We can't underestimate the power of connecting with ourselves, just stopping in this busy life. You know, as Black people, we're so busy, I need to do this, that, but just stopping, prioritizing self-care and understanding why you might be shouting, why you might be angry, why you might be sad, or why you might be stressed. That in itself is going to, I guess, position an adult to effectively serve and support their child. I'm not sure what's happened with Nicole, but I'm sure she'll join us. She'll join us soon. But what I'm going to do, she'll return. So I'm just going to look at some of the comments. So someone has shared that in general, it's in our culture where we fail to express our disturbed emotions, particularly as men. Men tend to hide the pain in avoidance because it's been seen as weak. And I would have to agree with that. And I think, unfortunately, society has contributed towards that because of the, I guess because of the way that the Black male is projected in society. And I think we touched upon this in a live with Nicole last week, that usually if we think about the media, the Black man is portrayed, unfortunately, in a negative way. They're cast in roles that are not necessarily positive role models. So all of that can have a negative impact upon how Black men are perceived, and also on how Black men possibly manage their emotions. So I'm just reading through some of the comments, Nicole. I'm glad that you're
sorry about that.
So another comment is that from NAR is that I think society almost encourages us to suppress negative emotions by always or often preaching positivity and it's all good. Which, I would have to agree with. And someone else has shared, Wiseman has shared, I just think it might be very awkward to cry in front of my wife. And I thank you for sharing that, Wiseman, and being so vulnerable and transparent, because these are the conversations we need to be having. What are your thoughts about that, Nicole? Yeah. And this is what Black men are thinking, and from other cultures. It's real.
Yeah. I think as well, you know, what he said is, you know, I'm glad he said that. So thank you for sharing. But also I think because of the idea of, especially men, Black men look weaker and they cry. But I totally disagree. I think crying releases things, you know. That's why it comes out of you. Crying is a release of tension, it's a release of stress, but also you're communicating your true feelings. So when you're at your most vulnerable, the person, whoever you share it with, will meet you where you are. As long as you know this person loves you, they care for you, they actually are concerned for you, 100%, they will meet you where you are. Especially, Wiseman, sorry. You stated that you'll feel awkward to cry in front of your wife. Your wife is probably the best person to cry in front of. She is the person that is standing beside you the whole time. She will never walk away from you. She will never let you down. She will always be by your side. So don't feel weak. Do not feel weak at all. The fact that you've even said it on a public platform, you know, it shows strength that you kind of seeking for it. You're wanting that comfortability with your wife to do that. Do it. Honestly, have a conversation. You know, sometimes as well, husbands and wives, they need to have that time to be alone. Have, you know, husband and wife time. Yes, I understand you have children and you need to balance it, especially in this kind of pandemic that we're in the UK. We're in a lockdown. So it could be quite tough in terms of dating and getting to know each other. But make that time. Make that time for you and your husband to truly connect, so you know each other intimately on every level.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely every level. And yeah, you will grow, and there will be nothing that will pass your wife, and there'll be nothing that will pass you as a husband for your wife, because you both are so connected and intertwined.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think more Black men need to hear this. It just breaks my heart when I just hear this, because I know this is the narrative, and I'll just share like my personal experience. I lost my mum when I was in my early 20s, and I've got 3 siblings, and I know my younger brother in particular, he struggled, understandably, because he was younger, but I think because he was a male, with the grief and with the loss, and to process the emotions, and for a long time wouldn't even come to the grave.
Oh, wow.
So I just share that to highlight the impact of grief, and the different ways that males and females process emotions as well. So sometimes one way of coping with it might be through avoidance.
Yeah.
Because you feel that you can't possibly deal with it, but actually in the long term, it can be detrimental to your emotional health, development, and well-being. And for the men that are listening, and also for the woman, because we've got a responsibility to facilitate them and encouraging them to kind of speak about their emotions and feelings, that, when you do cry, it's self-soothing. It helps to kind of improve your mood. It de-stresses you. It releases chemicals, which will actually improve your well-being as well. So having that knowledge can motivate you to process your emotions. If you feel that you can't express those emotions or cry in front of a woman, then maybe just, crying alone. But I would just encourage the men and all of us really not to suppress those emotions, because what can happen is that it will have a bit of a rebound effect. So it's got to come out somehow, so that it might come out as anger. So it's important to process those emotions. Just like when we eat, we've got to digest the food. It's got to be processed. And if it's not processed, then it can have a negative impact on us physiologically. It's totally the same with emotions. Being a human, having emotions, it's kind of synonymous. So we've got to process them. And it's okay to cry. It's a strength.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got to change this narrative
in
the community. We've got to change it. And it just makes me think about slavery. And all of the kind of negative experiences, our history, all of that will be feeding into us probably not wanting to express our emotions, because we don't want the slave masters to see that the way that they're treating us is affecting us.
Yeah,
but we're no longer in that. We're no longer in that period. We've moved on. So it's okay to cry. It's okay to express our emotions. And actually, this leads me on to, I'm so passionate about this. I'm getting quite annoyed now, because the reason why we do not want to express our emotions at times as Black people is because the Black race has been dehumanized by the white people because of, colonialism, imperialism. That's where it comes from. And just it makes me think about, when Black women go through labour, the pain relief that they're offered is much less than what the white counterparts, because they try to dehumanize us. But no, we are humans, and being a human is about having emotions and feelings and connecting with ourselves holistically, which is about expressing our emotions and feelings. Just as non-Black individuals express their emotions and get compassion and understanding for it, it's just the same for us as the Black community. We are no different. And that's why we should seek support and help. whether it be through a counsellor, therapist, psychologist, or even just talking to a friend. We are human.
Yeah, and I think as well, following on from what you said, I think we need to stop trying to fit in. We're not the same. And, you know, everybody, the whole world is different, regardless, whether you're black, white, Asian, whatever. But we don't need to fit in to be accepted. We don't need to fit in to be pleased or, you know, to get that attention or anything. We just need to be ourselves. And that will also help us to, you know, stand in a position of authority and believe in, most importantly, believe in who we are and trust in that what we have stored inside us and what we carry and the unique, you know, things within us. You know, sometimes a lot of the black community get put into, you know, sports and music and things like that. And it's highlighted that we're in many, many, many more fields of work and industries. We just need to look a bit further, but it is there. And I think, you know, we don't need to be afraid anymore. We can just stand up right now, especially with this whole Black Lives Matter movement that is taking place now. It's our time to really push forward, take advantage of it. I would say definitely use this time to create your own platform, because no one else is going to stand on the platform for you unless you do it for yourself.
I completely agree. Visibility is key. And I think for me as I say it as a black psychotherapist, in the past, I didn't even, clearly I'm black, but it's not something that I would necessarily convey. But now I'm like, listen, this is my superpower. I have got something unique to bring. In reality, there's not a lot of black psychotherapists, psychologists, counselors. So actually, I am bringing something unique, and the world needs to listen to me, because my life experience it differs from many non-black individuals or psychotherapists. And what I bring into that therapy room is unique, and I am going to use that to my advantage. And also to ensure that black individuals or mixed individuals can benefit from that as well. Because I think in the past, for me personally, I felt that it was kind of viewed as a bit of a taboo to think, oh, you know, I'm a psychotherapist, but I'm black as well. And I might have different kind of views or life experiences. And I think, unfortunately, when we think about psychology, some aspects of it have just totally been whitewashed in reality. So it's about kind of acknowledging that, and leveraging it as you've shared, Nicole, definitely.
Yeah. I think we do. I think we have to leverage it as much as possible and just get comfortable with it. You know, even for myself, when I used to get jobs, I used to think, okay, they've seen my CV, they've seen my name, they may think it's a white person, so I could get it. And then it's only once you get to the interview stage, you'll be like, oh, okay, she's black. And that's when I felt to myself, I had a lot more pressure on myself to think, okay, you have to deliver, because now they're seeing you for who you are. Because on paper, they could probably think, oh yeah, she's a white girl. And she looks good, she does whatever she does, and it seems all great. But it's now changing the narrative, changing your mindset to believe you're one package. Whatever I am is what I am. And I come and I deliver what I need to deliver. It's either you buy it or you don't.
Yeah, that is it. We've got to own our space, own who we are, and know that, you know, we are invited to the table, and we will have influence and impact, and our voice will be heard. Definitely. And, you know, when you share, it's interesting what you shared about the CV, because it brought me back. This was a long time ago, probably maybe 15 years ago. And I was working as an assistant psychologist, and I was working with I think it was a neuropsychologist. And the first time I met him, he was a white man. And, you know, my surname's Witter, which is German. And he was like, ooh, when he met me, he's like, oh, I thought you were German. And he was just looking at me and trying to figure it out. And I just thought, actually, if I'm being honest, at that time, it made me feel quite, I felt quite uncomfortable and inferior. And I just thought, you know what? Why was he even so bold to go there? If that would happen now, as I'm older, I would be able to, I would be able to kind of probably challenge that. Whereas then, probably because I was an assistant psychologist as well, and because of the power dynamics, my response was different. But I just think, we go through a lot, and just what we've shared as Black individuals, as minority ethnic individuals, and all of that requires a lot of resilience and requires you've got to have a network so you can express yourself, so you can deal with the rubbish that you just face each day. And I think sometimes we normalize these experiences, but actually they're not normal because our white counterparts are not dealing with this.
Yeah, it's true.
They're not.
It's so true.
So we've got to unveil, these experiences, and that's why there needs to be more Black individuals at board level positions in organisations to make impact and to ensure that there is more representation, more equality and diversity. And so you probably feel that you're more able to express yourself in a certain environment. It's so
Definitely.
key. There's just there's a lot that we face. I'm just looking at the comments, and Wiseman's clearly enjoying it. There's lots of laughs.
What's it saying?
Great, he likes the energy on the platform. Well said. And lots of laughing emojis. I think we're just getting passionate and just being kind of authentic, really, because this is what we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Listen, you walk out of your house. Well, I'm from the north, so it's less diverse than London or parts of Africa. And it's like, even during the Black Lives Matter, during last year and the unlawful killing of George Floyd, I became more, for a period, maybe a week, self-conscious. I'm thinking, is everyone looking at me? Are they thinking, what is she thinking about the killing of George Floyd? And I felt like that they were judging me. And I was just thinking, no, I shouldn't even have to be thinking this way. I just need to be me, and it's not about our race or our colour, but unfortunately people do judge us. And I think all of that can affect your ability to try and express yourself because you don't want to be misconstrued in different environments.
Yeah.
And it is a challenge. It is a challenge. And sorry, were you going to say something, Nicole?
Yeah, I was just going to say as well, going back on another point that you just made in terms of Black people being on boards. I was going to say that, us as Black people, yes, we have the knowledge, but I think when we get to positions like that, we need to deliver with excellence and not just be shooting for these positions and not delivering with excellence. We have to make sure we deliver with excellence because this is how we'll see change. So I think, especially during this time, don't everybody just feel like, I'm going to do this, and then it's really shoddy and it's not done to a good standard. But deliver what you can to excellence, and then we will shine much more and we'll be such a bigger and more impactful community because our quality of work and our quality of life will just increase naturally. So that's what I was going to encourage.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Just kind of linking back to express and don't suppress, I'm just thinking of severe and serious and enduring mental illnesses, because I know the stats suggest that Black individuals tend to present a lot later to mental health services. And that's kind of directly aligned with the fact that sometimes we're avoiding expressing our emotions or even acknowledging that there might be a problem. And in the long term, that's actually detrimental to our mental health and well-being. So by the time that we actually access services, our mental health is at a stage where, you know, you're more likely to be detained. So that's just another reason why we must encourage our community to talk, why we must continue to challenge the taboo and the stigmas that are associated with mental health, because it's crushing us as a community because we're not talking about it.
Yeah, I agree, because as you said, the criminal justice system, statistics show that, you know, Black people will be most likely to be put into jail or incarceration because of mental health, but it's not labeled as that. It will be labeled as, you know, them doing something unjust and it's wrong. So yeah, it's like you said, it's a taboo, it's culture, it's a lack of understanding because we're not expressing ourselves, because we're not talking about our feelings, because we're not actually even in the point of the courtroom to say this is the reason. You know, you still have a chance, you know, at know that point to express and say, like, this is the reason, or, you know, this has been troubling me. They will take that into consideration. I'm not saying that people should just use this as an excuse, but you have a time, you still have a point in the courtroom whether you can say something, you know, because this is your final time. Otherwise, you're just labeled as another statistic. So I think it's really important that we just have to let go of our own previous conceptions. We have to go of it and just, like I said, we have to express ourselves, but we have to be strategic in it. We have to be mindful with it, and, you know, not to be careful with what we say, because if certain things have to be delivered in a certain way to just get you to speak, by all means do it, and then you can be able to restructure and work on how to deliver it. But sometimes some people just need something to just say, to just get it out, and then work on how to deliver. So whatever works for you, but try not to, as much as possible, to suppress.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one final area for us to kind of explore before we end is thinking about spirituality, because as a community, we're very spiritual, whether that's Christian, Muslim, or, you know, lots of other faiths. And I was thinking about that in preparation today, and I was thinking spirituality can help and it can also hinder in the expression of emotions. For me personally, I'm a Christian, I'm a psychotherapist, you know, I'm okay with talking about emotions and feelings, but sometimes people could think, oh, no, you're not depressed, or you're not struggling, just go and pray, you'll be okay. And then that's not really encouraging you to deal with it. So what are your thoughts? And I'd love to hear from those who are listening. What are your thoughts in terms of spirituality and the role that that plays in mental health, or encouraging us or hindering us from expressing ourselves and our emotions?
I would say, I kind of knew this would come, actually. I'm a Christian myself. And I've always, you know, been in church and growing up in church and seeing certain things. And now I'm a bit older to understand, okay, you've got a bit of a mental issue here. Like, you need a bit more mental support here. I think we're so used to pray it out, you know, the devil is a liar, deliverance, stuff. I don't disagree with that at all. I don't disagree with it. I believe in prayer. I believe in deliverance. You know, I believe that God can move. Honestly, I believe it. But sometimes you have to use wisdom as well. Yeah. And wisdom in, yes, you can pray, but then you have to take the action. You know, faith without works is dead. So you have to move with it. Whatever it is, you can't just be stagnant and say, Lord, remove this devil from me, and that's it. But you're still standing there. Why are you still standing there? So it's about, it's definitely about praying, and yes, it's fine, but you have to take the action as well and using wisdom. God has given us these roles for a reason. We're not placed in these positions for no reason. I believe personally for myself, I was put in this position for a reason, and God has placed me there. I didn't ask to be called into child. God placed me there. So He's placed me there. He will use me to help other people. So if I'm there and other people are saying, oh, just pray, but they're not being delivered, they're not being healed, it's because they're not doing the next and the further steps that God has laid out. It's just like seeking a doctor. You know, you're meant to go to the doctor when you're sick. But yes, you can keep praying. But sometimes there comes to a point whereby you need to seek the doctor for professional help. And that is sometimes where things get, crossed with the wires and things. God has made these people and put these people here on earth for a reason. Otherwise, He would not have done it.
Yeah.
He would not have.
Yeah. So I think it's essentially, spirituality has a role and can help. But also you've got to acknowledge that if you do need to seek professional support, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're any less spiritual, or that you've maybe done something wrong or sinned. It's just acknowledging that mental health difficulties or just struggling to express your emotions can be affected by various factors, and I think we, as a community, we've got a responsibility to acknowledge that, because some people may be in a certain position because of certain doctrine that they've been exposed to, so they've not actually sought help. And for me personally, in the past, I've delivered a lot of workshops in the church that I've attended and other churches and kind of externally, just to help Christians in particular to kind of understand that it's okay to seek help, and that as individuals or people who are spiritual, that we can still be affected emotionally by different situations and challenges. And if you're not affected, then that would be quite unusual if you're not affected ultimately. And it's about humanity. Our emotions and feelings are affected. We've all got mental health, we've all got physical health, and it fluctuates depending upon what we're experiencing, depending upon, different environmental stresses. Look, we're in COVID, it's tough. So of course, our mental health is going to be affected to varying degrees. If it isn't, I'd say you're lying.
It's true.
It's true. I'm a psychotherapist, and during certain periods I've been very stressed out.
Naturally. 100%. Even me, I'll definitely put my hand up to say I even said, like, sometimes I just need to get out of the house just for a walk. And something so simple like that, walking, can relieve so much stress.
Definitely. So I think we're coming to the end of the live. Do you have any final words before we end, Nicole?
I would just like to say thank you. Most importantly, thank you so much for the platform. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for the discussion, and thank you for everyone in the audience that has been listening. I hope you are blessed by it. You find some nuggets. And it's been great to connect with you. If anybody wants to reach out to me and they need support with their children, they can contact me via email on my website, thenicolehenry.com. Or Martina, I'm not sure if I can send you my details.
You can add it to the comment. You can add it in the comment if you like, or even after.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think you can do that. I'm hoping it doesn't. The live.
Okay, I'll just.
I'm not sure whether it will just end, but it's been so fantastic having you on the Black Mental Health Matters show this afternoon, Nicole. It's been a pleasure to kind of explore this important and pertinent topic for the Black community. Express and don't suppress. So for everyone that's joined us today and everyone that listens on the catch-up, I just want to encourage you to, to connect with yourself, to encourage you to be a role model for the children in your life and also for the adults, and to realize that it's okay not to be okay. and that there's lots of ways that you can express your emotions and feelings in a creative way, and that can help you to grow and develop as an individual and to build your emotional intelligence, which is key and critical for success in life. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. There's just one comment which I'll just summarise before we end. Wiseman has shared, the bondage in the Black society is so enormous and has overlapped the emotional expressions, due to repetition of the same struggle challenges in our society. So people see no necessity to constantly express their emotions, attitudes and feelings. Yes, I totally agree with that, Wiseman. Well put, well described in a very succinct way. And thank you for joining us this afternoon. I hope that you all enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Keep going during these tough times. Keep going during COVID. And until next week, we will we'll see you all soon. And for those who listen on the catch up, feel free to comment and to connect with Nicole or myself on all social media platforms. And remember, together we're stronger. Take care.
Yes, thank you.